The week before we knew we were getting reviewed was probably one of the saddest weeks I've ever experienced as a business owner, because we were so behind on bill payment and we were so broke and like slow for dinner. And it was like New Year's and no one was coming in. It was like crying in my car when I got to work thinking like, I'm going to have to lay somebody off today. Like, it was fucking depressing.
You're listening to the Taste Podcast. I'm Editor-in-Chief Matt Rodbard, here with Senior Editor Anna Hezel.
Nicole Rucker is a baker, recipe developer, and owner of the Los Angeles restaurant Fiona. Also on the show, Smitten Kitchen's Deb Perelman answering a reader question. But Matt, tell me about Nicole.
Nicole Rucker, what a cool conversation. We talked about Los Angeles, the city she calls home, and what it's like to open and run a restaurant there. We also talk about the pie game and her time spent entering competitive pie competitions in that crazy world. It's a really cool conversation.
Here's Matt speaking with Nicole Rucker.
Nicole Rucker, thank you for joining the Taste Podcast.
Hello.
Let's talk about you have a green thumb. You love gardening.
Oh, I don't love gardening.
Okay.
I love gardens.
You love Okay, let's be clear. You love gardens. Do you go to have you been to the one in Pasadena? That amazing.
Oh yeah, Huntington.
Huntington
For sure.
Garden. Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah, Huntington Library. It's gorgeous.
It's so beautiful. Why? So, what draws you to gardens, not gardening?
Well, I do enough manual labor in my daily life. So it's not as enticing to me to like dig holes and things.
Yeah.
But also my relationship with my husband, he does the gardening and I help with like picking out what we're going to eat in the garden.
Okay.
So like he does all of the hard manual labor because he sits at a desk all day and he is a designer, and so he loves that part of it.
He has like really soft hands.
Nah. He doesn't have soft hands because he does like CrossFit and he digs trenches in his spare time, like, so he's kind of a weekend warrior. But
I see. So
that part is really up to him. On my part is like the intuitive wisdom of like just knowing, oh, that strawberry plant needs more of this, But I think that's just part of something that's in me from like my family. My grandparents were very, very, very good gardeners.
And that must translate to your cookbook that's coming up this fall, which is it's a fruit cookbook, fruit desserts cookbook called Dappled.
Yes.
I love that name. First, what is Dappled?
Dappled is a pattern of light or a pattern on like a horse can be dappled. Yeah, their fur. If it has like spots of light over spots of dark, it's dappled. So like when you're underneath a tree and the light comes through and it's in like a mottled like... It's like when the light comes through a tree and it's kind of like sparkling on the ground. That's what dappling is. Yeah. And it happens on fruit too.
So it happens on the skin of certain fruits.
Stone
like
fruit in particular. Yeah, plums are big dappled fruit.
I think that's what I was thinking of, plums. Like, wow.
Yeah. There's a good plum hybrid called Dappled Dandy. I think it's a Pluot. Yeah.
Oh, Pluots.
Dappled Dandy,
Shout out
it's
to
a
Pluots.
good one. Yeah, they're so good.
So good. So tell me, you were in California, which has the greatest fruit in America. Did that inspire this book that you worked on? And tell me a little bit more about why baking with fruit and doing fruit pastry is so rad.
So what the inspiration really comes from when I was a kid and my parents were divorced and we moved house to house a lot because my family was pretty poor. And my grandparents always had a garden and always had the ability to pull things from the backyard and just like make stuff. My family is Native American and Mexican, and so we were making fresh salsa every day. And I just grew up around fresh chilies and strawberries everywhere and like just eating them straight off the vine, eating tomatoes like nobody else has, just because they're outside your back door and they like reek of the oil that's on the leaves and stuff. So it was kind of like in my brain from a young age. But because I knew what everything was back there, as I got older and moved to San Francisco or like lived on my own, I was always using that as a reference point wherever I went. Like, oh, there's an apple tree. Oh, that person has a tangerine tree in their yard. And it became like a way of mapping, like emotional mapping, I would say, because like you drive through LA and you're on freeways as an adult, but like I'm like, oh, there's a fig tree on the side of the freeway right there.
You spot those from the car.
Heck yeah.
You think about fruit.
I'm a terrible driver, probably.
You think about pastry.
I don't think about pastry. I just think about like, the things that are growing in between everything, and like I just love spotting them, and then I love seeing them in people's yards and wondering if they use them and if they're inspired to use them. And in my neighborhood in South LA, it used to be adjacent to the hugest citrus grove. All of downtown LA was a huge citrus grove hundreds of years ago, I think 100 years ago or more. And so there's still trees left all over, and it just is like a part of the conversation that I have with the city as I drive around. So I am not a bummer in traffic. I don't care about traffic at all. I'm so used to it. And I drive around and sit there and, it's like you just contemplate things. And then you see a fig tree, or you see like there's a fig tree on my way to work that I've been watching for years grow from the day they planted it to today. It's like massive, the size of an SUV, and it's a green striped tiger fig. And I see it every year blossom with like hundreds of figs, and then the beetles come because the people in the house don't have time to pick it.
So my understanding about California is if the fruit tree, like the citrus tree, the fig tree is on the side of the road, you have the right to pick it. Is that?
Yeah, but also like totally. If it's hanging over a public walkway, you can pick it.
Ah, that's the one. That's the jam. It's on the sidewalk, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But this is in someone's front yard, and I had been watching it for years.
Okay.
So just this past summer, I saw the house was for sale, and so I went up to the door and knocked, and no one was there. I left a note and said, hey, I really would like to pick these figs because you have a lot of beetles in your front yard, and they're just damaging it. And that person texted me and said, come pick anytime.
Oh.
Yeah. She just texted me last week to say she moved, but she said, hey, I read your LA Times review, and that's so exciting, and like I'm so happy for you, and I'm going to come in. But I never met this person.
So she connected the dots using the LA Times review.
Well, she said, why do you want these figs? And I said, I'm opening a restaurant, and I just see them, and like I have time right now, and I'd like to pick them and help you because they're just dropping on the ground, so why not use them? And she was like, cool, do it. We had like a purely text message exchange. Yeah. It
Sounds
was really
lovely,
sweet.
really sweet, yeah.
It's like an LA story type thing.
Yeah.
But like a new LA story.
Oh, yeah. The next chapter.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that review. I think it's really, Bill Addison, it was his first review. He's the new restaurant critic, one of two new restaurant critics at the LA Times. And he picked your restaurant to go first. What was that process like for you?
Well, he reviewed us after a month and a half of being open.
So that's like a big, maybe give us a little more time.
Well, no. I mean, you want to be like, no, we're ready. But like the truth is you're not ready. And you try and be as ready as possible. And most reviewers would have waited a little bit longer, but he felt inspired to review us. The week before we knew we were getting reviewed was probably one of the saddest weeks I've ever experienced as a business owner, because we were so behind on bill payment, and we were so broke and like slow for dinner, and it was like New Year's and no one was coming in. It was like crying in my car when I got to work thinking like I'm gonna have to lay somebody off today. Like it was fucking depressing.
You were like sweating your payroll?
No, it was very sad. Every week it was just very sad. And then like probably at one of the saddest points, the general manager said, Bill Addison is on the phone. And I was like, no, he's not, like, no, you're whatever, man. And it turns out he was. And he called to say he was reviewing us. And it went from being a sad week to being like, oh my gosh, like he's choosing us. And, it was like 50-50. Sean, my chef, thought he was for sure going to review us because he had been there and we knew that he had been to the restaurant. So we thought maybe he would review us, but everybody else said, I don't think so. Maybe he's just a fan because we all know he likes pie.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe he's just a fan and maybe he's a regular. So you always like, on my side, I was like, oh, well, it's just a bakery and like, we're not ready yet. So he probably won't review us. But Sean was like, he's making a statement. He's going to review us.
And it was a glowing review. Let's just say
it was very good.
It was a very positive review.
It was very good. And the several things he brought up that were not as positive are all very valid points and have already been addressed.
Yeah.
Like soup not being salty enough, man, I get it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Work on.
let's put some more salt in the soup.
But let's talk about your relationship with Sean, your co-owner, your partner. You do a lot of the baking, and he does the more of the savory side. But it's unique in that you are both kind of cross-referencing each other's cooking, right?
Yes, yeah.
Talk about that.
Sean and I are playing in a weird band where I am very much playing to him, especially in desserts. And I know what Sean likes for dessert, and I ask him every day, hey, what flavor should the cream puff be today? And sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't, but we can fight about it. Or it's not really a fight, we can like go back and forth, discuss. But Sean is a very talented person and a very good friend of mine. And so I'm down for whatever he wants to make. And when we are cooking in the kitchen, he will ask, hey, do you have an idea for a pomelo salad? After he's already peeled all the pomelos the way that he wants to do them, which is like by hand peeling all the like the fuzzy interior off of them so that you get like the individual granules of the pomelo. Like he has
I'm
this
so
very
lazy.
meticulous
I do
way.
not do that when I'm peeling a pomelo.
Yeah, he does it. He says most people don't. He went on a big thing yesterday. Most people don't. Most people just cut them. See what I'm doing here? And I'm like, yes, Sean, I get it. But, then after he's done all of that work, he was like, hey, do you have an idea for a pomelo salad? And I'd be like, yeah, I do. Let's do this, this, and this. So we go back and forth like that with a lot of the dishes on a daily basis because one person cannot – I don't think that one person has enough creative energy on a daily basis while working to like really do that.
And that is a really good point. I was talking to Akira Kudo from Combi, and he's the similar partnership. And, burnout is a huge issue in kitchens. And it seems like you're really addressing it, first, like by having this collaboration. It's like a smart, modern way to work.
Yeah, I want to have a life, and Sean wants to have a life, and we're willing to work. I mean, we both work in our kitchen because we laid off most of our staff.
Oh, so you ended up doing that?
Well, yeah, we did. We had to make it work and work lean for a while, which is a very thing. It's a thing that happens in most restaurants, right? So Sean is there, and I am there. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm making dessert, and I'm also plating a crudo, and he's cooking on the line. So if we're going to run lean and we're also going to have lives, like we have to share the creative load and just go with it. Like last night I said, I want to do salted caramel. And he said, use the dehydrated black olives in the salted caramel because they're very salty. And I was like, cool, let's get weird. Let's do it. I wouldn't have thought of that on my own.
What did you end up doing that with?
Oh, yeah,
what
I
dish?
did. It was very good.
What dish?
Oh, it was a cream puff with salted caramel and citrus and dehydrated black olives. And we were just like having a weird, fun moment. And it was super delicious and surprising. So
you say your first cake was the worst cake you ever made.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that cake? I love that, bro. You're being honest. Like,
well, the first cake I made. Well, we baked a lot with one of my grandmas. So the first cake she allowed us to make by ourselves was with Jiffy box mix. But she was kind of like batty a little bit. And she only had like one cornbread mix and one white cake mix. And, they're very easy instructions. So we just mixed the two together.
There's different water levels, I'm sure, with each.
I don't really know what was happening. I was probably like 10 years old. And it was bad. But we were so proud of it. And my sister and I brought a slice to my grandpa. And he took one bite and then went, blah, and like spit it out. And he didn't even try and like spare our feelings. He was like, this is terrible. So it was just bad. I think it was really bitter. I think that we probably used water, and maybe it was supposed to be made with milk. I don't really know. I can't remember. But I've made many really terrible cakes.
Yeah.
I've made many terrible things.
I mean, that's part of the process.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you competing in pie competitions. So that's you traveled to Orlando, Florida.
Yeah.
There's been several articles recently written about this event. It's the National Championships of Pie Making, and you won a blue ribbon.
I did. I went to Florida and stayed in a like a family resort and baked a pie in a rental kitchen oven, and I won a blue ribbon several years ago. Gosh, I can't even remember what year it was. I feel like it was 2012 or 2013.
So you can't. This isn't like bringing pies from your kitchen in your restaurant. You have to actually make them.
Well, I'm
fresh.
sure you could bring a pie through TSA, but it seems like I would want to make it fresh just because that's who I am. So I just do it. The first year that I went, it was a road trip and we filmed it and we made a little documentary out of it. And I brought along an oven with me. It was a Breville convection toaster oven. Shout out to Breville, greatest kitchen appliance.
Those Aussies are really good with electronics.
Yeah,
Breville,
sometimes. Yeah. I mean, that toaster oven with convection setting it's an amazing oven. So I used that to bake the pies. And you can bake one pie at a time, so it took a really long time. You have to make two for the competition, and it was really fun. We stayed up all night. I baked pies. We made a documentary of our road trip eating pie, and then luckily for us, I won a blue ribbon in the perfect pie category.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, it's called Perfect Pie. I also had to submit an essay along with my pie, which was...
I'm sure that was really great.
You're a fun writer. I love writing an essay about an apple pie.
Come on.
Yeah. It's great. I wish I got to go to college for
What was
that.
the thesis? What was the crux of this essay?
It was, why is your pie the perfect apple pie? And so, like I got to wax poetic about blending 4 different kinds of apples and the kind of butter that I used and like how I didn't want it to be too sweet. And I've tried to find that essay because I had to print it out in the hotel like business center and email it to myself. It was really, so I can't find it. But I'm sure it was amazing.
Oh, so it's lost into the world. Okay.
I think it's lost.
Okay, well, that's okay. It's in lore now.
Yeah. I think I wrote it on my phone and then emailed it to myself. And then I don't know where it went, but it won.
What do you get when you win? You get a blue ribbon.
You get nothing. you get bragging rights and I guess fame.
Yeah, total fame.
Yeah.
I love how you on Instagram and in writing and you shout out a lot of your colleagues in LA, in the LA restaurant and cooking community. So I just wanted to know, we've been doing some recordings here in LA. I would like to know like who is doing some cool shit right now. Like shout out some of your people. Yeah.
I think so many people are doing cool things. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of. I think that you're right to bring up the guys from Combi, Akira and Nick, and how they're, smart enough to share the creative load and work together. And the Sarahs at Kismet are also doing the same thing, and John and Vinny do the same thing. So we do have a trend with like doubling up. I love what Ori does at Bestia with his wife and at Bavel. One of my favorite places to eat in LA is Porch and Puffs, and I think that definitely LA is in a time of like comfort stuff right now. So we're kind of like doing a new comfort thing, and that's really unique for us right now. So anyone who's kind of like playing that song, I think is really doing a great job. I love Smorgasburg Market.
Me too. I go every time.
Specifically for Eric Black's pastrami, who's one of my colleagues. He actually is our bookkeeper.
What's his name of his stand?
It's called Ugly Drum.
Ugly Drum, right? Yeah.
He makes an amazing product in LA. Beautiful pastrami. He uses our bread. And he is just a great guy. He's a smart dude, and he's like one of our advisors in business, but also makes amazing food.
I've had that. Have you had the Toto Verde?
Oh, yeah.
I love that so much.
I used to be at Smorgasburg for a while, so I got to try everything. And then if you're in Smorgasburg in downtown and you go outside of the gates, my friend Kuniko Yagi has a Japanese-style fried chicken place that's right outside, across from
in the row.
In the row. It's across from where the big tartine ship is, and she's doing amazing things with fried chicken and traditional, kind of like really beautiful Japanese sides, like a sweet potato salad with broccoli. It's just like really unique stuff. Yeah.
But what about like K-Town, Mexican taquerias in South LA? Like, where else are you eating on your days off?
I eat a lot at Beverly Soon Tofu. It's very comforting to me. On my days off, which I've had one so far, I stayed home and made myself bacon and eggs. But last night after work, my husband went and got me tacos from this place in front of the Food for Less. And I was just kind of like sitting there eating these tacos thinking like, man, LA's so great. This place is so great that I can just eat these tacos right now in the middle of the night after work, and just like great freaking salsas that are so great and wonderful and well seasoned, and like the tortillas. I mean, everybody loves Tire Shop Taqueria. I'm not as much of a taco head because I grew up with it. So like it's just it's like cereal to me.
Yeah, you've made it in your life. And
Yeah.
Vampiros, though. Shout out to Vampiros.
Yeah, I love Vampiros. I love, a tostada at I'm blanking on the name, but there's this old school tostada place on Hoover. It's named after a bull. I feel like it's like a bullfighting theme. That place rules.
Rad. I'm putting my hand over my heart and like beating it right now.
Because
like,
you love tacos
I love
so
just
much.
LA.
Yeah.
It's more the sentiment.
Yeah.
You just said it was really beautiful what you just said.
Yeah.
I
It's
love
a
that.
public service. Tacos are a public service, I believe. And it's just part of our, what is the equivalent? New York, it's pizza, right? And here it's tacos and everyone gets them. And that's just part of our lives.
Nicole Rucker, thank you for joining the Taste Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Here's Anna speaking with Deb Perelman.
Deb, we have a question from a reader about canned tuna. Your challenge is to make a can of tuna into an exciting dinner. What would you cook?
Okay, so it's really weird, and I'm going to have like 18 sub-references in this. But in 2004, the New York Times published this tuna salad compose, and it's this really weird tuna. You're supposed to use oil-packed tuna, but like we didn't have that around. We would just like add, drain it and then like toss it with a good amount of olive oil. But it's this really weird tuna salad. It has like scallions and smoked almonds and like coarse mustard and a little balsamic in it and pepperoncini, and it's just really unusual. Oh, and fresh dill.
I love that.
It's so weird, but everyone who has it is like, it's just such a neat thing, and it really packs up well for lunches and stuff. But what I think is really interesting is that the author of this, the person who wrote this article about these composed salads and these unusual tuna salads, is actually the guy who invented the Cosmopolitan, Toby, I'm going to say his last name, Cecchini. And he owns like Long Island Bar now. So it was just like this weird like New York thing. I was like, is that really his name on it? But it's the same guy. Most of his recipes are cocktails, but he's done a couple random articles with these like
still make
odd
this
salads.
tuna salad.
I do. My husband loves it. And he just basically is in it for like the 6 pepperoncinis that you put in. Like I could put in like 12.
I like that it has some of the briny, crunchy characteristics of your average deli tuna salad. But
Exactly.
Like with a few twists.
I feel like it needs that. It's like much more vibrant, and it's not like heavy and goopy at all.
Thanks, Deb. The Taste Podcast is hosted by Matt Rodbard and me, Anna Heasel. The show is produced by Gabrielle Lewis, studio recordings by Pat Stango, theme music by Steve Rydell. Interviews are recorded live at Books Are Magic in Cobble Hill, Brooklyn, and at Penguin Random House Studios in Manhattan. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com. Thanks for listening.